All right, and welcome to round table number 3 from Group D. What a fantastic group. You guys are amazing. Um, Jay, why don't you remind everybody what the topic is for today?
So the topic is differentiating a Glover's movement based on their generation. So, another way of saying it is, are there moves that have changed that you see based on the generation that the Glover's coming from, or what's new, what's not new, what do you miss, things like that.
Oh,
Fantastic.
this is a rabbit hole. Oh man, this
We're
is
going to
a
try and
rabbit
keep this
hole.
relatively brief.
Breathe on this topic? Oh
relatively,
man.
relatively. We'll skim surfaces and we'll drink lattes on the porch. You know what I mean?
Let me just open up my YouTube library. Hang on, it's
Oh yeah, there. See, we're gonna skim the surface. Let me pull up links.
You want to check tape? You want to check tape? Yeah. Let's start
Oh,
with we had a couple different generations just in this last group of 4 alone. So let's just start. We can start there, and then let's go from there. So let's talk about the generations uh, in this last group today.
well, Toasty being, kind of the hardcore representation of the old school, specifically the old school SoCal style,
mhm.
um, which, I started loving Colorado. The Colorado style is not like vastly different, but pretty different. So when I saw it and saw that style for the first time, what I noticed was just the precision of landing on beats. Like, the best way I could illustrate it with a move, it's like a move that Cypher does a lot, where he's got a finger roll here, and then he's doing this whip motion and he stops. And there's this little like up thing that he does, and it just smacks the beat every time he lands it. Like that, those kind of things are always the old school Glovers to me.
It's like I don't know. It's I think it has to do with how long they've been doing it and what was available at the time, right? The move sets that were available way back when were a lot, um, uh, for lack of a better word, crude, right? They're a bit bigger,
Mhm.
like they took up more space, and then as gloving has been refined and moves got smaller, you know, they've had these big ones and they figure out where to put the little ones within it, and that's why they'll do moves like this shit, right here, or like move over here, and like it lines up perfectly on the larger grid set, and
Mhm.
within those larger grid sets are the smaller ones that all those tiny intricate finger moves fall within, and I love when that's displayed in older gen. Like that's a real treat to me.
But I love when we were talking on an earlier episode, I think it was you, Recursion, who said, like one thing with some older Glovers is you can't get some of these newer concepts to stick
Hmm.
quite well. And like I know people might have like lit up chat for that and been like, no, but no, it's the truth. Like I conceptually understand clusters. I do. I understand what's going on and what I see. Oh my god, it's so hard to add it into my concept library. I spent, you know, 3-4 years of gloving focusing on, so many finger roll techniques and that kind of stuff. So to try to shove clusters in there, I'm like, oh god.
Relearning to ride a bicycle.
Yeah, yeah. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because you do have some that break out of the norm too, right? Like we had a great example, not this last episode, but the one before with Cosmo's show, right? He's an
mhm,
older Gen Glover, but he popped out with what was it, that 3D cluster that he did right there?
mhm.
That was
Yeah, he was using a couple different planes together on that move. I really enjoyed that set. I was like, oh, okay.
that was
So we're doing depth perception across multiple planes with clusters and dials. Got it. I understand now. Thanks for clarifying.
Yep.
yeah,
What?
that
4D,
was
Are you
just
kidding me?
4D chess. Let me do this real fast.
exactly.
Yeah, that was awesome. I loved it. That was great.
I'd love to see where that
Um,
expands to.
when we talk about times and eras, but I think something that's just as important as time is also region and location and where you grew up loving and what access, you had influence to. Like as the digital age gets larger and larger, people's styles are starting to blend, but let's take a Chicago Glover who started in 2013, 2014, and let's compare it to a Hawaii Glover who started in the same time. Their shows look nothing alike.
Mm-mm.
So,
I'm
we can.
I
Yeah,
want to,
Teddy.
as quick aside, I'm very happy that we have some 808 gloving community members in this competition because I was very sad that there were not a lot that could compete at 4KC. I understand it was complicated and it was a lot to ask, so I get it. But it doesn't mean I wasn't sad about it. So I'm very happy to see guys like Hypno and Mr. Freckles coming in and representing for Hawaii. And if there's, I think there's a couple more too. I think there's a couple others in there as well that I'm not mentioning, so I apologize if I'm forgetting anybody. But I'm excited. Anyway, sorry. Continue with you were talking about different regions and style by region.
Yeah, style by region too, because we talk about like the old school flow. Like in my opinion, we're actually mostly talking about old school Southern California flow specifically. The old school Glovers in Colorado, like you could even still see some of their older like videos and stuff. It doesn't look the way the SoCal style does.
Mm-mm.
Not at all.
No.
Jay, does this sound similar at all to different dance communities that you've been a part of?
Totally. I mean, in popping, for instance, like the West Coast, like California, like they emphasize the hit. Like the harder you could hit, that's like your like okay, I see him. And then like I'm pretty sure like in Florida, like there is more about like the groove and like dancing to the music and the vibe. Like that's what they really look at. And then even the names, like, because if you're in California, right, in Los Angeles, some poppers will call themselves pop lockers. And then in the Bay, you have the strutters. And then in the East Coast of New York, they call themselves like boogie boys. So you got even like different names in different regions, and they all have like their different flavor of going about it. And that's just different regions. When you start talking about the generations and how things are changing, before, because if you're familiar with Mr. Wiggles, he's like one of the, names when it comes to popping and really old school. Popping, he said, was just the arms and the legs. Like you hit with the arms, you hit with the legs, that's about it. Once YouTube started coming and things started getting more like connected with social media, popping started getting like really intricate. Like people are hitting with their necks, triceps, forearms, biceps, legs, torso, stomach. Like people started getting real detailed, and I can see that with finger styles as well. Because finger styles, it was just like they were tutting, right? They had the boxes, they had all these boxes. And then all of a sudden, somebody's like, oh, yeah, well, we got like monsters or character digits. And then all of a sudden, they're like, oh, we got the face tutting. Okay, now we got the threads. Okay, what else? But then that's what I keep saying. I feel like finger styles kind of stopped. And that's where gloving took what they were doing, took what Fingerstyles was doing, and now Glovers are coming up with the concepts that I'm seeing. So do you feel that Glovers are getting more intricate and detailed compared to 2000 to now?
Absolutely. The detail is off the charts. I've been doing this for way too long, almost like 13 years in October, and it's pretty. I mean, it's uncomparable. I was in the Worldwide Glovers Discord earlier today, and I was actually showing some old videos of PM Laser from Love Group 2010 and Laser and Serenade from Love Group 2009 doing a double with Ravens. And I'm just watching these videos and I'm noticing like there's no intricacy here, but there is still the showman. There's still a level of showmanship. There is still a level of character creation. There is still a level of I am your. There was still a level of I am a performer for you. That's what I'm here to do. I'm not trying to show you me. I'm trying to perform for you. Which is kind of the same thing, but also very different depending on the lens you're looking through.
Right.
Well, the lens is so important. We even have a clash in the gloving community itself, an argument as to whether or not gloving is a style of dance.
Oh God.
Yeah, the
Which I
dance
s-
versus flow art thing is it which realistically flow arts are dance.
They are.
They are. We are
It's
judging we have musicality on a scorecard. It's a style of dance, but so you have those people who they're still phenomenal glovers. I'm not knocking on the people that don't see gloving as a style of dance, but you have those people influencing it as well that are looking for a little bit more of the brick and mortar concept building of what can you do with your hands.
Mhm.
Mhm.
You know, at Recursion, I'm sure you can think of some
That's the angle I
buildings,
approach.
you know.
That's the complete angle I approach. I mean, a lot of people they approach gloving from a dancing standpoint. Before gloving, I didn't do there's not a single dance. I mean, okay, no, it's a lie. I flowed staff. I flowed
Mm.
staff.
Mhm.
but see
Yeah.
that's a flow art specifically, not a
Yes.
dance style.
Right. Exactly. So coming into gloving, I looked at it from a very what can I do with my hands standpoint.
Mm.
What shapes can I make? What works? What doesn't? I learned real quick. I hate my ring finger middle finger connection. I really hate that connection.
You could
Mm.
you
And
could
then
hear it in his voice. He
learned
means
and
it.
then I
He
learned that
meant
there's
that
a surgery that you can get. I'm not gonna say the price, but I know it.
shit.
Something else. If there was something else that came to my mind talking about this generational changes, region changes, is in like the popping world. At least what I see or what I've heard is that back in the day, the poppers had more of a groove. They had more of like this funk. It was still not to say it's not dancing now, but it was more of like social dance added with the dance technique on it. Now from what I see and what I hear, it's becoming more technical and more um, flashy, like movements. Now, gloving community, do you feel there is something that has kind of withered away through the years, or is there, or maybe not at all? Is there something you feel maybe has lost that essence from the past coming into now?
Well, I have a good answer for that.
I do
Um,
too.
I think I do
yeah.
too.
The first thing that comes to mind is um, the idea of focusing on the lights.
Hmm.
And we touched on this earlier a little bit of how sometimes it's sometimes like for certain things you want to see the glover, you want to see the performer, you want to see their face, their arms, their hands, or whatever have you for those particular moves. And that's fine, but I feel like there aren't enough people that really take the time to do that. And I want to point out one person in particular that did it very well in this group was Psych. Psych really showed us what a light show can be, because the idea was focused on the lights. Like there were a lot of points in there where you could not tell what finger was which. You couldn't tell if they were fingers anymore, and that's the exact point. That's, in my opinion, that's one of the points of a light show is if your hands no longer look like hands, they are doing a good job of whatever you're trying to do.
Hmm. Hmm.
One of the first things a local community, one of our local community members told me when I first started was, "I want you to make me forget I'm looking at hands."
Hmm.
Mhm.
Sorry, who was this again? You said?
I took that to heart. He goes by Ash. No, he goes by Ketchum. He goes by Ketchum.
Nice.
Local, yeah.
I have some similar advice I got. Sorry, Starlight. I'll let you jump in a second
No,
here. But
you're good. Go for it.
the first piece of light show advice I ever forgot was from a gentleman named Banish. Rest in peace, Brandon. We miss you, man.
Hmm.
Banish told me we were giving a triple team light show. This is my like third night with gloves ever. It's like 2008 December, something like that, or November, whatever. I'm giving a light show with him and the person who would later become PM Adrena. And I was like, dude, I don't know what I'm doing. Why am I participating with you two guys? He's like, dude, just start slow and go with the beat. You'll be fine. And it's the simplest advice in the world,
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but it sticks.
It
it
does.
does. It does.
It's like,
Teddy, when
dude,
you were
just
saying like focusing on the lights and stuff, that's one thing that I see. A dying art that there's some people in the community keeping it alive, but it's called Conjuring. And yeah, for those of you watching who are not familiar, Conjuring is kind of this sleight of hand style of gloving where it's just a simple turn your lights on with a button, click both buttons at the same time, and it jumps. And you start doing these fun little hat tricks with them, and eventually you can get so complex that you do a full glove with it, and people are jumping them back and forth.
Oh yeah.
Conjuring's a really dead art. Like, I don't want to say dead because there's a whole team dedicated to it, and they're gonna come for me in the chat. But like compared to like how much Conjuring was used back in the day, it's not quite as there anymore. People are more apt to try to do some of these tiny, more Rubik's Cube looking motions than they are to maybe kind of play with that.
you hear that, GFC? Round 2, bring the conjures.
Bring the conjure. Prove me wrong, guys. Make me eat those words. Let me see some conjures.
I think it's all a cycle. It's all it's all recursive. Like what's gonna happen?
Wow, plugs.
All right, what's gonna happen is people are gonna be focusing on like the intricacies at this moment, but eventually, once they've exhausted their interest in that department, they're going to look at other venues, and it may be during a time when people have forgot about Conjuring, for sure, possible, and there's gonna be some kid sitting at home 3 weeks into it, going click click, what the fuck?
Yeah.
You know?
Totally.
Yeah. Well, it happened with impacting in like 2019. In 2019, 2018, 2019, everybody was just like impacts like out of nowhere. So
I would even go farther than that. I would say like 2016, 17 it started to come back.
You're right.
But there was like a 4 or 5 year lull where impacting was like it was a very small like niche thing of like it was a much steeper learning curve that nobody really wanted to climb, and then all of a sudden people were like, no, give me the mountain. But on that note,
people to die.
yeah, basically. On that note, guys.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I was gonna say we can close it out here for the day if you guys like. We now have all of the Group D scores. So if you're watching this and this video is now live, you can go now to yougotmoves.com/GFC and you can see the scores that Starlight and Recursion gave and cry about it later. And then we'll be back next week on Wednesday with another group for you guys. Take care.
Dope.
Peace out, guys. Good luck.